we think that every person is unique, and all of us, like, we carry special, unique life experience and wisdom, stories that all are gonna vanish with the death. And we want to prevent it, we want to keep it, we want to try to create this digital print of you to pass it through generations. So in some words, you can say we're chasing immortality here.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the NeuralPod. I'm Chris Coyne, the host and founder of NeuralRec.ai. I'm joined today by Catherine. She's a co-founder of Pantio. Welcome to the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Kate. I've been in cancer research for 3 years and recently exited the company by reselling a lot of data we had and postponing the previous project. And recently, with my co-founder Dmitry, founded Pantio, a project where we are making digital prints of people. You can call it digital twins, digital personas, basically making your personality with cloning your voice and trying to gather all the information about you, storing it in one place, which is Pantio.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting, and I think a lot of people will be familiar with the topic of deepfakes, and they first came to the forefront probably 4 or 5 years ago now. But this feels like the next layer above, and there's some really exciting use cases that you can potentially apply this to, but also from our discussions in the past, Kate, some potential security and ethical concerns, and rightly so. And you guys are also addressing that in the product. So I think on today's show, we're going to introduce people a little bit more to you, the industry, what kind of technology is driving the products, why now, and that aha moment for you and your co-founder, a bit more about the problem space and some ethical considerations. And I think, I'm excited to talk about this because it, like you say, it's got some really interesting use cases, but also there's a lot around the products, around, philosophical aspect to it, which I think is pretty cool as well. So yeah, do you want to just introduce people to what a digital twin or clone would be if they haven't heard of one before, I guess?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it just speaks for itself. On the one hand, your digital clone, your digital representation is basically you, your information gathered. To be more precise, this is a deep voice cloning of you, meaning that we're able to capture your emotions, your intonations. We can try to capture the personality behind it. We copy some of those patterns, and with enough information that we gather through our 3 hours interview, and that you can later add with any types of drop-in on our platform, we can basically gather and create this digital persona. So basically this is a combination of voice cloning, not just 11, it's 11 labs, they're great, thumbs up for the for technologies, but it's a deep voice cloning, so we're capturing a lot of voice, which makes it a unique experience. And we always get the wow effects when we show demos, and with just a compression with a real voice. After you just present it a little, and then you show your digital persona, like, people usually get it. Oh, now I see. That's you. Yeah, that's actually you. I don't want to. Right now, we don't want to go to the video and add the video part, because I think it's, with all due respect to people who are right now in video, there are great startups over there, but I don't think that bringing video would just ruin the experience, because it's lagging behind a little bit, and it still brings this Death Valley vibe. So right now it's voice only, and we'd probably move to holograms in the future. We're actually making little construction for the demo, so very happy to be involved. I would also really like to drop a little about the vision here, like why we're doing this. Sorry if I'm stealing your question.
No. Go.
Cool. So actually, there are projects over there in the market who are doing same things, like Delphi, for example. Yeah, the idea isn't new. I think people were trying to create digital selves for themselves for a while. There are books, movies about it, and how things go wrong at some point. But what we're the vision behind this project is to preserve your legacy. So we are, of course, there are use cases where this can be a useful day-to-day tool, but in general, we think that every person is unique, and all of us, we carry special, unique life experience and wisdom, stories that all are going to vanish with the death. And we want to prevent it. We want to keep it. We want to try to create this digital print of you to pass it through generations. So in some words, you can say we're chasing immortality here. Well, not in a regular case where like you'll transfer your consciousness fully, but yeah, in some terms, I'd say this is immortality.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. And I think you've potentially got two challenges. Obviously, the technology, which everyone would face, but then, how people perceive the product and how it's received more so than usual, I guess. But like you say, there's a lot of products out there where we can clone our likeness pretty easily. But I guess after a 3 to 4 minute conversation, you'd be able to tell this is not Kate or this is not Chris. What kind of data do you use to get that likeness and really replicate someone's personality?
Okay, so I think they're like what makes it state of the art, secret sauce, whatever works here is a combination of the voice technology and the memory. I think the memory is actually a big challenge for everybody to solve. And we're really good with memories, like keeping the conversation going. So no, I have a couple of friends and my aunt who thought that this is just a platform to call me. And that was in real life when they texted me, this is you, right? This is you, right? We're talking. So it was very funny. Well, of course, like after a couple minutes, they'd be like, oh yeah, no, something's off here, something's wrong. But it gives people chills. So, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very emotional moment. And yeah, this whole project was moved by like a personal story of my co-founder. The use case where he passed the copy of his grandfather to his grandma. So yes, she loves it, and I think that the technology has moved to the point where it could be a very close copy. So yeah, it's a voice plus the memory logic. And I'm the power user of my own product. I talk to myself every day. It's a great self-reflective tool. Basically, what makes it like boring at some point, we're trying to behave humanly, so it would never always just agree with you. I had great arguments with myself. And yeah, we're trying to get away from always following up questions, always agreeing, and trying to create some kind of will there to pivot the conversation and kind of make it an like unpredictable dialogue, something like similar to what we experience talking to other humans. So yeah.
Yeah, it's again interesting. How long does it take you to capture someone's likeness roughly? If let's say it's an hour, 2 hours, what's the average time it'll take you?
So we're doing, as I mentioned, 3 hour interview right now, but
Okay.
not enough to capture like all your life. And the older the client is, the less it's enough. For me, I think so I'm bilingual, and there's a difference in my Russian speech and English. And I think even personalities are different. So I did 5 or 6 hours in total of recordings. And of course, a lot of information was added. I migrated from ChatGPT, like I took everything there and dropped it to our project because just enjoy the experience more now. But yeah, in general, 3 to 4 hours of the structural story. And then, of course, you'll need to drop and add on additional information, and it's up to you to decide whether it's enough. Of adding a lot of integrations and APIs, it's really easy to get access, to plug it in wherever you want it to be plugged in, your day-to-day conversations, like, I don't know, messengers, emails, whatever. But I think that would just scare people and make them care even more. So right now we're keeping everything within the platform where we can be sure about the security, the encryption. So yeah, just after the interview, drop whatever you like. We're not there. And yeah, when it would feel enough for you.
Cool. And are you hoping for this to say kind of B2C applications and, like you say, go helping pass generational information on? Any other applications? Do you ever see it like being used for B2B, for example?
I'm in love with B2B. Personally, I think like it's so hard to build what people want. And it's very hard to promote B2C products, but yeah, we'll stay B2C. I don't want to go B2B because that would mean we would turn eventually into B2B SaaS company, which we're trying not to be. We're trying to do something valuable with a vision. But in there are cases, the use cases, where we can work with some caregivers and some organizations. For example, since we last talked, we've started reaching out and getting some feedback from death doulas. These are people who help families and people who are dying process their grief or the actual thought that the death is close and it's terrifying. We're reaching out to senior caregivers to just offer people to make them basically immersive biographies. Like there's so many use cases and there are ways, like the organization that we can work with, we're very open to that.
Yeah, so it seems like you're very keen to apply this to very ethical problems and give people a new approach to things, which is amazing to see. Why did you come up with this product now? I appreciate, it's probably dovetailed with these new models that have come out that have enabled you to do this. And I guess the product will only get better as you get more models and data. But what was the aha moment for you guys where you decided to go all in on this?
So I'd love to share my co-founder story. It was actually, he's the visionary behind this. When I met him, it's a close friend of mine. He changed the project from his previous one to this one. And I immediately thought that, no, I'm joining him at all costs. For free, as a follower, yeah, the idea really resonated. He worked in AI for 6 years, working with voice and memories. This is the field of his expertise, and at some point he works 24/7. He literally sleeps 4 hours every day. That's why he wasn't joining us today. He works a lot, and I don't think he has a lot of company during those night hours. I think he cloned himself to brainstorm, so it would be somebody to talk to about work and stuff, because he's a creative person. And he was surprised of the quality. He was just basically experimenting and came up with this use case of the deep voice cloning technology by 11 Labs. And yeah, instantly he was like, wow, this is fantastic. This is literally me. And he was close with his grandfather, who recently passed away 3 years ago. He was like a dad to him. Of course, he already processed the loss. It's been like 3 years, but out of curiosity, he made the copy of his grandfather. And it was very emotional. It was an emotional moment, because he had some voice recordings. His grandfather written a book, and yeah, there was plenty of information to be used. It was, yeah, as I said, a pretty big moment for him. And then he gave it to his grandma, and now she talks to this digital version of his grandfather for an hour every day. That costs quite a lot. I mean, in terms of the use of the combination of the technology. But yeah, I think it's amazing in many ways because people feel lonely. I think death always comes unexpected in our lives. And I know that it's a very sensitive moment for every person who will process this differently. But I think if applied with care and cautiousness, this technology may bring peace and actually serve, like, people are nostalgic even without like Pantio. People have photos, people have cemeteries, people still do voice recordings and video recordings. Of course, I think that we're living in a digital era. People leave huge digital prints behind them. And I think it's just great to create a use case like this properly.
Yeah, like you say, I think it should be down to the person. If you want this, why not? Yeah, I think people should have the choice. But there's certainly an ethical aspect to the product, and we've kind of spoke about it in the backgrounds before. First of all, in general, this kind of technology is not just what Pantio is working on, but also in general deepfakes and voice clones, etc. But this would kick it up a notch, I guess, in terms of someone's likeness. How do you feel about people who would be worried about this being misused?
So we are trying to First of all, there is a pretty strict voice verification. Once we onboard you and the interview is finished and the deep voice cloning is done, we don't have access to your voice, and basically nobody has. So once we've done the recordings, we've now, since we last talked, evolved a lot. We created proper contracts. We incorporated the company. So yeah, we now have a very strict protocol. We sign NDAs. Like, privacy is a very high priority for our clients. It's even an issue that it's all in the cloud for some people. Even with the encryption, people care, and I appreciate a lot people caring that much about like their information, because it's very personal. And we're trying to solve this by moving to hardware, actually, to hosting it all locally and to basically send all of our clients the chip. And yeah, we're experimenting right now with it, getting ready the first prototype. But yeah, the voice will be secured on the side of 11 labs right now. I know it's also a startup, but they're growing, they're doing better. But in general, and it's right now, there are no integrations. Like, the only way that it can work, but yeah, only you have the access to your platform, to your voice. So I like, we've tried to make it as closed as possible. Yeah, I can't come up with scam schemes here, but maybe it's just the limitation of my imagination. And
Yeah.
it's the time will come and we'll see things popping up. But so far we've protected all the ways that it can be dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are very early stage, and I think you mentioned to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you have around 30 customers at least at the moment, and people definitely buying into it. And I guess, do they have any security concerns? And obviously, you're managing them because they're still very keen to get the product, from what I hear.
Yeah, but at the same time, as we onboard new clients, we're hearing like more feedback or where to go in terms of security. Like, I think when we first caught up on a call, it was just early adopters. They're like, yeah, sure, like onboard me, I'll share whatever. But as we go, as there are more people coming, like we've came up with the NDA, because it's like, even we're having in-person interviews, so there's like no AI there. And I thought, my initial thought was, yeah, it's such cool, like a person would actually listen to you for like three and more hours if needed. But people are like, no, who are you? Like, let's sign an NDA. I don't trust you with this sensitive information. But at the same time, you don't have to spill everything during the interview. You can add more details yourself as you're on the platform. Yeah, we have, as the protocols we're using for the security, the data storage are the best on the market. Like, it's the same as a lot of great companies use. And we don't like, we have notifications that we don't use any of the client's data in training right now. So yeah, trying to make it as safe, as comfortable as possible. Some people are like, please, I don't trust Google, don't use Gemini, let's not do this in Google Meet.
Yeah.
Super lean now, very flexible to customer needs.
Yeah, so it's super good to hear. And I think that segues nicely onto the next part around, the death question. And I think you guys mentioned personality should not die. I think, there'll be people on two sides of that fence. And, some people may say it would foster unhealthy connections with, what is essentially a computer program. And again, this is not just specific to Pantio. You've got, ethical concerns around ChatGPT, and especially young people building up relationships with a chatbot. It's profound and controversial, I think. What are your thoughts on, potentially someone having an unhealthy relationship with the program? And is it something that you think about?
I think that we're in a new era, and we will adapt to this sort of thing. I think AI is still pretty new. I think like it will always be two opinions. So for example, when iPhones came and people are like restraining teenagers from getting like too much of a screen time, too much of a social media. So see, but it's been out there through all my teenage years. And only now people are like, yeah, we should actually ban teenagers from that much of social media. It's like getting dangerous as a humanity to see. It's yet to be studied, but how does it differ from having unhealthy attachments and relationship with other people? Like, this can be a very unhealthy, addictive, and dangerous thing too. So sure, in such a sensitive field as death and grieving, I talk personally a lot because I'm in love with this use case with death doulas. And this is personal to me because I joined this project because I'm really afraid of my father. He's great. He's in great health. He's 55 years old. He has a lot of years to come, but for some reasons I'm terrified by the thought of his death. And that's why the moment I heard of this technology, I'm like, never mind, I'm cloning him, we'll figure things out as we go. But when you love somebody and well, first of all, you'll figure things out of how to logically explain why this technology is good and it should be applied in some use cases. Second, I think that I'll definitely work with a death doula to process this. Actually, you can work with a death doula before somebody dies to get through the idea that mortality is still a thing and we need to grieve and go through it. But when I was pitching this product to hear the feedback, if it's actually can be applicable to this field and actually serve for good, but not harm people, because I don't want this product to be misused. So I'm first trying to gather the feedback. Some of them told me that it's definitely not for all clients. At this point, we are figuring this problem by choosing the providers and choosing the people who are being referred to us by those professionals. So it's a decision on their side that it would benefit the client if they have this. Because as I see it, this is not a substitute to a person. This is like a soft launch because that happens very instantly and just wow, you can't call this person anymore. And you're having this little LLM in your head with just the memories of how they used to talk and how they used to sound, recreating this in your head. So I don't see anything bad about the experience of actually hearing something from the speakers. But yeah, it's definitely should be carefully curated and like supported by the professionals. This would serve as a soft launch for the grief, and this would eventually work as a separation from your parents. When you're small, you're talking to them daily, but when you move away to college, university, you start calling them less and less. There's going to be a use case like with the use case of a person dying and being captured and cloned. I don't think there would be that kind of unhealthy attachment. We're talking about very rare cases. In this case, it would either be us or pretty soulless ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think before we started speaking, I was like, well, I don't know if I would do this, more so as a tool for grieving with my parents. But then I think speaking here today, I think, well, maybe I actually would. And I think it'd be amazing, for people 100 years from now to have captured the likeness. If you think about all the great historical people like Einstein, maybe my favorite person in history is Alexander the Great. If people 5,000 years from now have these things, how accurate would the history books be? I would say very accurate. So yeah, I think it's amazing. In terms of the vision, obviously this is the first step for you guys. The product will probably evolve as the technology evolves. And like you mentioned, we're just at the start with AI. I will caveat this with AI changes so fast. I guess nobody really knows, but what are you hoping for the next 6 months to kind of 2 to 3 years?
So the next 6 months, we're moving very fast. First of all, we started a month ago. So it's like but thanks to my co-founder, energy and just in general moving fast because of how inspired we are. We're aiming we're gaining a lot of traction. We're onboarding customer, gathering feedback, staying very close with them after like we onboarded them. We're delivering a lot of new features. Of course, early adopters are the best people because they believe in you before there is the product that they would use on a daily basis. We're coming with more use cases because as far as I want it to be for people to be conscious and understand their mortality, use it as self-reflective tool and capture their biographies, making the digital personas to preserve the knowledge. Some people are still looking for ways to use it on a daily basis and integrate it to their Slack for them to be more efficient. But yeah, just trying to see if enough of the market volume, for us to move forward. Although I'm convinced that we'll try to shape the market and bring there the vision. So it's definitely shaping up the product more, shaping up the message, because I think it needs to be clear, maybe split to the proper audience, and just little startup steps, making the launch video, gaining traction, probably be fundraising. But yeah, right now, as I've mentioned, we've started already looking in the future, because it's a very futuristic product. So you gotta look there and set the path early that we want to move to hardware, make this path even more complicated. Yeah, store everything, run everything locally. Yeah, train our own LLMs, try to see where we can get without big models, huge corporations, which would also bring more security. And eventually try to bring even more in-person presence vibe. As I said, we see it not in a video because it's still pretty bad. I mean, you still can see it's not a real person, and it will just ruin the vibe completely. And as long as it's just a good voice cloning, I think it's enough. Like, your imagination would do the rest. So and probably the hologram, like, we're exploring how we can create this experience. For me, this is a sci-fi, but I believe in the power of my co-founder and us making it real as he did it with a voice. So I'm very excited for the future.
Yeah, I'm getting Star Wars vibes with the hologram. That's the first thing
Yeah,
I think of.
definitely.
And you touched on hardware there. I don't think we've quite entered the age of robotics yet. I know we're making massive strides as an industry, but providing you wasn't limited by the software or the hardware, would you put this into some robotics in the future if you could?
Have you seen the recent robots, Neo?
I've not seen Neo.
Oh, you have not?
Yeah.
It's been there, and it's so scary. I'm like, no, the cuter it is, the more terrifying this is. Like, the cuter it is, the more you're like it's trying to make me like it. It's trying to appear friendly. Yeah, so no, I think holograms for now. No, unless it will turn into this Black Mirror episode. So yeah, not going there right now, not exploring. Yeah, definitely. And I've just exited biotech, so I'm not into the heavy industries. I need a little pause. So for a while, we'll stick to software, maybe hardware, running everything locally. And yeah, in general, don't want to, can't see a robot. I can't see a robot. I don't need a hug.
Yeah. Yeah, and this strikes me as a massive passion project for you, which is great to see. What do you hope to, grow Pantio to with you and your co-founder? You're looking to bring other people on board, because I'm sure there might be people listening who want to get involved with this type of project. What are your plans there?
So, as I've said, shaping the message, like coming up with the proper audiences, because right now it's very diverse. So, on one hand, these are people who needs their own biographies. There is a pretty big segment of people who will eventually who are looking for ways to capture themselves. And I think that we're all kind of moved a little bit with the fear of death. So everything we do is we're trying to leave something behind. Well, not like on a daily basis, of course. I hope everybody are fine, in peace, and not thinking day to day about the death is coming. But yeah, I think that we're all moving towards creating something. And this is like deeply, very deeply moved by a little bit of like the fear of void, forgetness. And but still, yeah, there's different, and we're polishing this message, different ways. For example, we're also reaching out and being reached by people with terminal illnesses. So basically people who are at this edge and they're looking for tools like this for something to be captured, because they're like in the death doulas practices, they still do just simple video recording to the future or a voice recording to your loved ones. So this is definitely use cases where it can be like applied already and bring peace and value to people. I really enjoy that this is in the field which is a little bit of taboo. People don't love to think about death. We're trying to be focused more on day-to-day life and stuff. For some people, the death is something they live with for a while. I see already a pretty valuable use case for people with early dementia and Alzheimer. We're having cases like this with the interest, people basically losing their personalities. And I think that, and I have some friends who see it as a tool that, hey, I'd probably record this for myself in the future. as a self-reflective, it's great to see before and after actually, this little, because you change. Maybe if you'd make this copy and abandon it for years, it would be actually fun experience to get back to it. And of course, day-to-day usage, we're trying to figure out if there are as many people who would enjoy the ChatGPT experience, but supported and fine-tuned personally on their, lifestyle, biography, tone of voice. So yeah, shaping this into proper messages and see how this resonates, because some use cases like this and others are
Yeah.
still figuring out.
I imagine a lot of people out of curiosity as well would just want to speak to themselves and see what comes back and have that mirror up to yourself, because unless you got a twin, you can't actually do that. So it's yeah, that would be super curious as well. A lot of the founders that come on the show are B2B founders, but as you say, you're B2C, and potentially some of your customers, potential new customers listening. First of all, how can customers learn more about Pantio and get involved?
So we have a website, which is pantio.io, but we're still having some complaints that there's not enough information about the product, the experience, and steps. Please reach out to me. I love live demos. I'll hop on a call anytime, like starting 4 a.m. to midnight, to guide you through the product, because I think we'll find ways to implement this into maybe a website experience to give this wow moment where people get what we're building, because as people get it, they're almost immediately turning into clients out of curiosity, out of excitement. And of course, a lot of people do share the vision and deeply understand what we're building, which just inspires me a lot. So yeah, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, through the website. We have a wait list, and we're not gonna let you wait. Probably reach out next day or a couple hours.
Nice. Yeah, I know he was introduced by a mutual friend, and he's quite well known in the industry, and he's on board. So I know someone like him is interested in the product. There's certainly some good stuff behind it. You may not want to say this now, but I will put you on the spot and ask anyway. What kind of cost would be involved with getting your digital representation done?
Sure, yeah. So I know it might sound a little bit unfair, but we are raising the cost with the rise of the demand. So right now it's $1,000 per digital persona. This includes a very cool microphone shipped to you wherever you are. Yeah, it requires some equipment, of course. And if you have the mic, we're happy to cut the cost at the cost of the mic. But in general, all of those, even though it may sound to some people like a lot, on the other hand, if you know the costs for the technologies listed here, you'll understand that we are literally just covering the costs to serve your persona through the year. And yeah, we're basically just right now looking at this as a venture business, maybe even a nonprofit at first. So all of those money will just cover the costs to serve this digital persona, basically storage, 11 labs, the LLMs, and probably also the good thing is that as we bring more features through the year, they're all going to be included. You can request some stuff. So if you believe in us, we're happy to adjust to your needs. So yeah, but in the future, we see the cost rising, like with implementing hardware and the hologram, which is, I think, a couple of years from now. But yeah, definitely the hardware would probably make it more expensive. But that would be optional. I mean, for some people who are looking for the hardware device, which is pretty cool. I think it will almost look like a survival kit. Like literally, you'll have all the information about you.
Yeah, I was in a memorabilia shop today, and I was looking at Star Wars figurines, and kind of reminds me of what ChatGPT do around tokens, where you get the special trophy, and if you get a little starter kit, and that'd be really, really cool,
The
actually.
trophy, I live in a startup flat. That's not mine.
Fair enough. Okay, and in closing, what would you want people to take away from this conversation about Pantio and the product that you're building?
I enjoyed, first of all, Chris, thank you so much for a lovely conversation. This is the best conversation to have that early morning. There is no even a glimpse of sunrise. But yeah, I enjoyed it, having some time and space to share what I'm so passionate about. I don't have a cool one-liner to drop, but yeah, hope everybody enjoyed it. I know it's a very controversial questions, and people would be divided into techno optimists and be like, oh no, we're all heading to an AI doomsday. We're all going going to be replaced. You're just contributing to an upcoming horror. In general, just trying to create a good project and try to make it serve some good intentions, help solve deep fears, and make wisdom last. So yeah, really hope it resonates with somebody who listened till this point. And yeah, thanks so much for the time and the questions.
You're welcome. Yes, thank you so much for joining us at 6 a.m. I know I'm based in Manchester in the UK, but you've kindly aligned our diaries and got up early. So appreciate that. And I think my closing thoughts on this is someone's going to develop this technology. And a close friend of mine just got back from China, and he was telling me some of the stuff that's being developed over there. And if we want someone developing this kind of digital representation, we want it to people doing it for the good reasons, the right reasons, and ethical reasons. And I think it's really great to see that from you and Pantio and your co-founder. In closing, I will add all the relevant links to Pantio, and if people want to just follow you guys, I'll put a few links in there and a link to your profile in case anyone wants to get the clone done. I'm sure you'll be more than happy for them to reach out, as you say. So yeah, I've honestly really enjoyed today, Kate. So thank you so much for coming on and being a guest. And yeah, maybe we'll do a part 2 in a year's time, and we'll see where the product's up to.
Thank you so much for the time.
Cheers, Kate.